How's it going, guys? You're sitting here with Segura Michael and a good friend and local artist from the St. Louis area, Rob Engeszer.
Howdy.
I decided I really want to utilize everyone who I've met over the past 6 months since moving back here, give them an opportunity to kind of show out their stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy, because Rob and I are definitely going to be enjoying this food, because I made it, and when I cook, I'm a bomb-ass chef. It just turns out great. Yeah, so Rob, obviously, I know a lot about you already, but whenever I did meet you, it was kind of like a really easy thing, just like talk to you. It was almost like a surprise, like how easily we clicked, and I was just like, hold up, is this dude for real? You know what I mean?
It was definitely an immediate thing, especially once we found out that we both live in kind of a similar area too. Yeah, I don't know, it was like right off the jump, you could tell there was an instant click there.
Yeah, it was. And obviously we were skateboarding. We got Jefferson Barracks and made that immediate common ground that we were able to connect on. But then I started talking even some more, and I was like, man, I don't even feel like I need to skate right now, because we were already just clicking, talking about art and music.
Yeah, it seems like with creative people, there's always that kind of like, I don't know, thing that just works, like. Not all creative people necessarily mesh right off the bat, but, when they do, it doesn't take a whole lot to realize that that's there for sure.
Yeah, I was ecstatic to find out, especially once we started hanging out some more afterwards. Like, this is like one of my homies that I've known forever. It was like we grew up together almost.
For sure.
Well, and then I started to get to know about your art, and that was something that just super impressed me. It's like your style to me is really detailed, but it's got like an abstractness to it, and I guess it's the depth of the colors that you use.
I've been focusing on what I do and how my mind likes to work on things for probably about, I've been doing art my entire life, but the actual style itself for like 5, maybe 6 years now.
Okay.
And I think that when you really focus yourself on something with everything that your mind has to work with, you just naturally gravitate towards things that you think look cool. I definitely rely on similar color schemes for a lot of the same projects, and I've always really liked doing portrait work, because a lot of my heavy influences are like a lot of black and gray heavy tattoo artists, and just people that do really good, like, surrealism and stuff like that. So I think that kind of shows a little bit in the overall process. But I also really like abstract stuff, too. I think that comes from, like, the Cherokee Street, St. Louis scene. Everything's kind of a little rough around the edges down there.
I think it's a general understanding that there's a little bit of a roughness to St. Louis, and it can scare some people away, but I thought for the longest time I needed to go outward to really expand myself, and for a period of time I did need to go experience new things. But since being back home in the St. Louis area, I'm legitimately blown away by the amount of talent that is just like coming out of the woodworks here.
It's raw out here. When it comes to like the amount of talent out there and just people kind of striving to, follow their goals, there's a really deep, I feel like, musical scene in pretty much all levels and facets of music, everywhere from like the acoustic scene, people that play out, to the live band action that we got going on. There's plenty of DJs out there just going for stuff right now. The artists are pretty unreal. There's a lot of really talented people that come out of here. Phil Jarvis, I feel like, is pretty much world renowned at this point. Pete Wolliger kills it. You can't walk 20 feet in St. Louis without seeing some eyes on something. Like, it's up and coming.
Yeah, and obviously you work at a music venue, and you've been able to kind of like tie your passion in for music in with your art, and I guess that's what you refer to as your live painting.
The live painting kind of started out of a way. When I first started, I wasn't necessarily knowing what I was doing, but I knew that I wanted to be able to share my art with people and use it to be able to make money and, find a way to get out there. And the easiest way that I could do that, even before I worked for a music venue or anything like that, was go to shows, set up my stuff, and just try and, work in an environment where people can see you. And obviously music is a really great way to do that.
Yeah.
And thanks to 2720 Cherokee and a lot of venues, some of them are and aren't still around, there's been opportunities to do stuff like that and even like kind of create a name from nothing. For a long time I was doing pastel pieces, and I would show up with a piece of paper to the club literally and a bunch of dry pastels and hopefully make $60 for the night doing really different stuff. I mean, a lot of like facial stuff, but definitely not any type of realism type work. And it's interesting that when you work with music that you will eventually, people realize what you're up to. It took 2 years, but after the first 2 years, people are like, all right, I know what this guy's coming here to do. And now there's the ability for newer artists to be able to come up and kind of step forward, and it's not even like a new thing.
Well, I know you said you were doing it for like two years and it kind of started building, but when did you start doing that?
Maybe 2012.
Okay.
There's definitely, I wasn't the only person doing it. There was, a handful of people that were kind of involved in the really early days, but there wasn't no more than, 3 to 5 tops.
Yeah.
And I'd say 3 total. Nick Fosey has definitely paved the way for a lot of people too.
It's inspiring to me to see other people doing that because it gets me motivated. Okay, if I want to, not even just to be relevant, but if I want to be as good as I can be in that scene, I need to learn from the other people who are really making it what it is, and so I can, when it's my time, I could really just step up and take that over. And it sounds like it's exactly what you did with live painting up until this point.
Yeah, I mean, art's been a journey, I feel like in the early days, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to do more than just work a normal job. And,
right.
And I felt like I had friends that were doing this, and I saw them having a really good time with it. They were very talented, very ahead of their time for, what was going on. And I didn't know that I could do that, but I knew that when I saw them doing it, that I wanted to be able to try to go for that journey.
Yeah.
It's like you said, when you see somebody that's doing something that you think is really cool, it inspires you to kind of want to light a fire under yourself and see what you're capable of with your own life.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit how you got into art even from when you were a kid.
I don't know that I ever really got into art as much as I was just kind of always naturally gravitated towards it. I mean, I think I really got into it right after high school. I was pretty into it in high school, but I was very, very into skateboarding at that time, and that was pretty much all that my mind could directly focus on. It wasn't until I kind of got out of that for a little bit and had a different direction to go where I started to really think that this was something maybe I wanted to do as like a life direction.
Right. Yeah, it's a hard decision to make, especially whenever you got people, I'm sure you had people around you that were living the average lifestyle, 9 to 5 type of thing. And I feel like when you're trying to make the decision, do I want to seriously pursue this? How am I going to get that support, and what do I need to do to prove to people that this is what I want to do?
Oh, and anytime you're starting something and you haven't accomplished anything yet, you will have a lot of people that are disbelievers in you. Yeah. I mean, it takes a while before, the people that disbelieve in you all of a sudden think that, what you're doing is a very cool and accomplished thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get that with music all the time.
Oh, without a doubt. And, sometimes I felt like I believed in myself, but it was it was just this innate drive to just keep pushing. And then to a certain point, more recently, I kind of felt like, okay, you know, I can actually see myself in the light that I've been seeing myself as in the future, you know, as a younger person. And so I'm finally like, oh, you know, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing.
And I feel like one thing that I think that my painting art and like your musical career have had very similar things in common was there's like eras. I definitely focused on different styles of stuff going up throughout the years, and like it's kind of almost worked its way up to like, I don't want to call it a fine art style, but like, you know, it's worked its way from like kind of a street artish, really rough thing to kind of a more refined, specific thing that I'm going for. And I feel like your career too has been, you've gone through like the hip hop stuff, now that you're not doing it, but like it seems like you're focusing a lot more into like kind of the acoustic songwriting aspects of it.
Absolutely.
And when you're a creative person, you can't stay doing the same things over and over. You have to kind of almost evolve to keep it interesting for yourself.
Yeah, it's like this works for me, this doesn't, and you take a little bit of everything and just figure out, you know, make it yours.
Make the evolution happen. I think a lot of times as artists, people want to see you do what they perceive as your best work.
Right.
You know, like a lot of people really like when I do portrait work, and like, yeah, I think that's really cool too, but like sometimes you got to keep doing what keeps you entertained, and it might not necessarily be what's going to be the popular thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to always kind of find that balance of what you like and what keeps you happy, and what people listening to or are watching what you're doing perceive and think is, you know, progress.
Right. Yeah, we all have different definitions of that, but it definitely matters most of like what you think is like acceptable for your standards. You know, like that's something you want to stay focused on, is hitting your goal and not letting people distract you from what you know that is deep down, because that's easy. It's just
and not get bored.
Yeah. You know, before we sign off here, I just want to let people know exactly like what you're going to be up to. If you got any new projects coming up, if you're going to be at any venues, anything of that nature.
I've been focusing on a lot of like projects that are just kind of like for me at the moment, to try and make it a little bit more entertaining than it has been for a while, but I do have some pretty interesting projects coming up. I don't necessarily want to give away what they are at this time, because I like the idea of a little bit of surprise to them, but you can definitely expect to see some new things coming up in 2018. And I think that we're going to definitely shoot for making it the best and highest caliber of work that has happened to date.
Okay.
You can follow me at the artwork of Rob Engeszer on Instagram, and you can see a little bit of what my lifestyle's up to. You can see a little bit of what the artwork has going on, and get a window into what life is like.
Oh yeah, man. Especially being the type of person that you are, and if any of you guys are artists out there and you guys just want to know about the St. Louis art scene in general, between music, live art, handmade goods, whatever, just to let you guys know, before Rob got here, I cooked up a little bit of some open-faced omelets. It wasn't my original plan, but it just looked so much prettier that way. And of course, I'm a lot about presentation. So what I threw together here was a little bit of yellow and green peppers, some yellow squash in there as well, and then it's just 1 egg each with 2 pieces of toast and butter. So if you guys are curious about what we're eating, there you have it. And made some coffee for us. Of course, I don't have a cool R mug for Rob, but I've always got to be repping the M. So anyways, dude, thank you again for coming out. And I really hope this can just give people an idea of who you are and what you're doing and the impact that you're already having on our city, because you know, you definitely deserve the credit, the hours that you put in at 2720 Cherokee.
Thank you.
All the people that you've come to know. You're a true man of St. Louis.
I think that St. Louis has given me a lot too. I mean, St. Louis is a loving place and definitely shows love to people. So yep. I'm appreciative for all the people that have done nice things for me for over the years.